Hello guys, my name is Matt, and welcome to Typhus. I am the warden of this planet, and as a warden, it is my sole responsibility to supervise and observe the changes happening in our world. Today, we will explore the different states here in Typhus and the compositions that build each state. First, the solid state. The particles living here have a strong bond that gives a state a good shape. This state is crowded with particles and they tend to squeeze together in a small area if and only if there is a high pressure. On the other hand, they get excited and they expand very lightly upon high temperature. To maintain the peace and order, the particles doesn't have the freedom to move around. Next is the liquid state. This state doesn't have a good shape because the bond of the particles aren't as strong as a solid state. Compared to the previous state, it is less crowded with particles and they don't squeeze together unless they are under high pressure. Also, they expand when there's a high temperature. Lastly, the gas state. The particles living here are far from each other, and this explains their weak bonds. In fact, this state has the weakest bond among the states. That's why its shape is indefinite. Just like the other states, they tend to squeeze together if there's a high pressure. They greatly expand when there's a high temperature, which separates them from others. On the bright side, they can move freely around the state. Our world is composed of living creatures called substances. A single individual is called an element, and when two or more elements bond together, they form a group that will soon become a compound. These compounds sometimes mix with other compounds to share their ideals and form an organization called mixtures. Some have ideals that harmonizes with each other, and this kind of organization is classified as homogeneous mixture. Another kind of mixture is a heterogeneous mixture. This organization is built with a mix of compounds with ideals that does not harmonize well. Creatures in my world have properties. One of these properties is the ability to change. There are two ways on how these compounds change. The first one is a physical change, where compounds transform but the composition stays the same. In an analogy, a compound enters the mall and also leaves the mall with the same compounds. They are the same compounds even though they have changed in looks. Another kind of change is a chemical change. In this change, the compounds entering the mall is totally different with the compounds exiting it. With the same scenario, a group of elements will enter the mall, but a compound leaving it will be the same group but of different elements. Now, if organizations form, does that mean they break? Yes, they do. Mixtures break due to different factors like time, temperature, or any forms of change in environment. An example of mixture separation is a filtration, where a mixture passes through a gate where only liquid particles can enter and solid particles will stand before the gates. Another example is evaporation, where the organization will undergo a certain problem and soon the situation will heat up until this mixture separates. In chromatography, an organization enters an elevator. As the elevator goes up, the alcoholic operator makes sure that the particles will live in their own different corresponding floors. The last two examples are the simple and fractional distillation. Simple distillation is when a particle leaves his organization earlier than the other particles. This happens when a liquid particle goes home at 100 degrees Celsius, but the other particle can only leave at 300 degrees Celsius. Fractional distillation is not much different from the simple. The only difference is that fractional has more particles at different leaving or boiling points. Now, let's have a quick recap. Our world is composed of three states: the solid, liquid, and gas state. The solid states have a strong bond that gives the state a good shape, while the liquid state doesn't have a good shape due to the fact that its band isn't as strong as the solid state. And lastly, the gas states have a weak bonds that give its state an indefinite shape. Substances are the living creatures living in this world. Element is one single organism, while a group of it is a compound. Mixture is what you call the compounds that mix with the other compounds to share their ideals. There are two types of a mixture: the homogeneous ones and the heterogeneous mixture. There are also two properties in this world: the physical change, where compounds transform but the composition stays the same, and the chemical change, where compounds transform and its composition changed. Lastly, mixtures can also be separated. To separate mixtures, we can use filtration, evaporation, chromatography, and distillation. And now, this is where I leave you, since now you already know how the world typhus works. I hope you learned a lot during our whole tour. Again, this is Matt, the Warden of Typhus. See you next time. Goodbye!